You probably think you're doing the smart thing by putting your favorite foods in the fridge to keep them fresh. But what if I told you that this everyday habit could be quietly affecting your brain health, especially while you sleep? Sounds dramatic, right? But the connection between refrigerated foods and your risk of silent strokes is more real than most people realize. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tossed leftover pizza in the fridge to eat later? Or kept tomatoes and bananas chilled so they don't spoil too fast? It seems totally harmless, but here's the catch. Certain cold foods, especially those high in salt, fat, or refined carbs, can make your blood vessels less flexible, increase blood thickness, and quietly raise your stroke risk during the night, when your body is supposed to be resting. I'm not trying to scare you, just wish someone had told us this earlier. Because as we get older, our bodies don't process food the way they used to. What your system could easily handle at 40 might cause problems at 60 or 70, particularly when it comes to blood flow and brain function. This isn't about banning your favorite meals or throwing out everything in the fridge. It's about awareness, knowing how certain chilled foods might work against your circulation, especially when eaten cold. So here's a quick gut check. If you've ever stored leftovers in the fridge, or you're curious whether you've been unknowingly stressing your body, drop a 1 in the comments. If you've never really thought about it, type 0. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Insight, where we help you protect your brain and heart every single night. Let's take a closer look at the first food that might be doing more harm than good when stored. Cold tomatoes. Yes, those bright, juicy fruits we love in salads, sandwiches, and sauces. But here's what most people don't know. When tomatoes are stored in cold temperatures, like your refrigerator, their nutritional profile subtly changes. Specifically, the cold reduces the level of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that normally helps reduce inflammation in your blood vessels. Why does this matter? Fewer antioxidants mean your body has a weaker defense against inflammation. And when inflammation creeps into your arteries, especially at night, it raises the risk of small clots or microcirculation issues. That's a red flag for anyone dealing with high cholesterol or poor circulation. One study from the University of California found that refrigerated tomatoes had significantly less lycopene after just a few days. That's not just a nutritional downgrade, it's a potential risk to your vascular health. If you're used to eating cold tomato slices or refrigerated salads, this small habit could slowly chip away at your vessel health. The simple fix: keep tomatoes at room temperature. They taste better, and they're better for you. Got some in the fridge right now? No stress. Just start storing them differently from now on. Now let's talk about another fruit you probably trust completely, but that can be surprisingly tricky when stored cold. Bananas. Bananas are rich in potassium and usually seen as a heart-healthy snack. But when they're kept in the fridge too long, the cold affects both their texture and the way your body responds to them. For older adults with more sensitive circulation, eating cold, dense foods like bananas can cause mild vasoconstriction. Which be it. But when they're kept in the fridge, but when they kept in the way, we a priest to college to come to my wealth. But with my riwaji salaways, my sept of my ways, my weed comord. We are sabais, said. We are supported. We is savad. It's enlalide. But we always a gasabit. I be my libsud. Kakapaya to six it to me say secretus I sick to sit stick to kisik cosit to the kakakites dipit to kisik to pusik. But that's quick the this tits but detum the poet the patent was sits of the lids of a card there's means your blood vessels tighten slightly. If your vessels are already stressed due to age, medication, or conditions like diabetes, This small constriction can significantly affect nighttime blood flow. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Nutrition noted that cold-sensitive foods can increase peripheral resistance in simpler terms. Your heart has to work harder to push blood through narrowed vessels. It's not always dramatic. But at night, when blood pressure naturally dips, this can contribute to symptoms like dizziness, leg cramps, or, in some cases, even lead to a vascular event. So what's the better approach? Keep bananas at room temperature if you like them chilled. Refrigerate them just before eating instead of long-term storage. Your heart and blood vessels will thank you. Now, let's turn to a fridge favorite. Most of us never question leftover pizza, comfort food at its finest. And let's be honest, we've all eaten cold pizzas straight from the fridge. But here's the thing. It's more than just a convenient snack. It can quietly be a threat to your blood, healthy especially overnight. Think about what's in that. Slice, refined carbs from the crust, saturated fat from the cheese, and toppings, and a solid hit of sodium when eaten cold. This combo can raise triglycerides and make your blood thicker. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that high-fat meals, especially eaten late at night and cold, can raise triglyceride levels within just a few hours. And high triglycerides don't just sit there. They slow down circulation and make your blood more viscous, like trying to pump molasses through a straw. Now imagine that happening at night, when your body naturally slows blood flow. If your blood is already thick and sluggish, your risk of clotting goes up. So, what can you do? If you're eating leftover pizza, try reheating it before eating. Not only will it taste better, but it'll also be easier on your cardiovascular system. That innocent midnight snack you reach for could be doing more harm than you think. Take cold pizza, for example. A harmless leftover, right? But eating it cold, especially late at night, can quietly increase your stroke risk. So what can you do instead? Simple: reheat it if you must have it, or better yet, swap it for something lighter before bed. Your late-night cravings shouldn't come at the cost of your morning health. Now, since we're talking about greasy leftovers, let's turn to a classic: fried chicken. Fried chicken is crispy, flavorful, and, let's be honest, hard to resist. Any extras usually end up in the fridge. But once it cools, the oils used in frying begin to oxidize, meaning the fats start to break down into harmful compounds. When you eat cold fried chicken, especially at the end of the day, those oxidized fats don't just pass through your body, they trigger inflammation, quietly irritating your blood vessels. A clinical review by the Cleveland Clinic noted that reheated or cold-fried foods often contain lipid peroxides, unstable molecules that directly damage the endothelium, the delicate lining of your blood vessels responsible for keeping them elastic and open. Over time, this kind of damage builds up, making your vessels stiffer and more prone to blockages. And if you're already dealing with aging arteries or conditions like high blood pressure, that added stress can push your vessels toward dysfunction. It's like pressing repeatedly on a bruise. Eventually, something gives. For older adults, especially those over 60, a night of poor circulation caused by oxidized fats can increase the risk of clots forming silently while you sleep. So what's a smarter option? If you've got leftover fried chicken, try removing the breading, gently reheating the meat, and pairing it with a handful of leafy greens. It's not about giving up what you love, just about helping your body manage it better. Now, let's move on to another chilled favorite: mayo-based salads. Think egg salad, tuna salad, or those deli-style macaroni mixes. They seem harmless, cool, creamy, and ready to eat. But when kept in the fridge for more than a day or two, these mixtures can become a quiet threat to your vascular health. Why? Because the blend of protein and fat, when chilled for extended periods, can begin to produce microtoxins that irritate your blood vessels and disturb healthy circulation. According to the USDA Food Safety Division, a cold storage of protein fat Combos like eggs and mayonnaise allow slow bacterial activity and chemical changes to take place, even before the food smells or looks off. These compounds can still enter your system and cause low-grade inflammation, especially in the microvessels of your heart and brain. To make things worse, these salads are usually high in sodium and preservatives, which can lead to fluid retention and overnight blood pressure spikes. That's the opposite of what your body needs at night. Time meant for repair and recovery. So here's a practical tip. Make smaller portions. Eat them fresh and store leftovers in airtight containers. If it's been more than 48 hours, it's safer to toss it now, ready for another surprise. Let's open that fridge a bit wider, because even those pickled vegetables and canned goods might be working against you. Pickles are often seen as a healthy, crunchy snack, low in calories, high in flavor. But here's the reality. Most pickled and preserved foods are loaded with sodium, and not just a lot. That excess salt can trigger small blood vessel spasms, especially during the night when your blood pressure naturally dips. If you've got sensitive arteries or a history of high blood pressure, this can be risky. A detailed review by the American Heart Association found that even moderate sodium intake from pickled or canned foods can lead to arterial stiffness over time. That forces your heart to pump harder and increases your chance of a stroke during sleep, when circulation is already slower. So if you're someone who snacks on cold pickles or enjoys sauerkraut with dinner, you might want to think twice. The salt doesn't just pass through, can pull excess fluids into your bloodstream, raise blood pressure, and leave your vessels strained while you rest. What's the fix? Try rinsing pickles before eating to remove some salt, or opt for low-sodium versions when available. Fermented foods can be healthy, but only when they're balanced with care, especially as we age. And now, let's shift from salty to sweet. That innocent bowl of ice cream in your freezer, or maybe a slice of cold cheesecake waiting after dinner. Comforting, yes, but potentially harmful to your circulation. Here's why. That combo of sugar and chilled fat doesn't just satisfy your sweet tooth. It can thicken your blood and fuel low-grade inflammation in your smallest veins and arteries. A study published in the journal Stroke showed that diets high in saturated fats and refined sugar, particularly when consumed cold, impair endothelial function and raise levels of C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation. And when do those inflammatory levels tend to peak? At night, just when your body is supposed to be winding down, healing, and restoring. Imagine your veins as garden hoses. Now imagine trying to run syrup through them instead of water. That's what happens when blood becomes thicker and vessels are inflamed. The heart has to work overtime, and the risk of microclots forming increases. That's especially concerning in the early morning hours, when strokes are most likely to occur. Just because it's dessert doesn't mean it's off limits. You don't have to give it up entirely. Just enjoy smaller portions. Have them earlier in the day, or choose fruit-based sweets that don't need refrigeration. It's not about losing joy. It's about enjoying it in a way that supports your health. Now we've covered the sweet stuff. Let's talk about something that seems innocent but can become surprisingly heavy. Mashed potatoes, soft, creamy, and a classic dinner side. But once they've been chilled in the fridge, something changes. The starch inside them begins to undergo retrograde acesis, scientific process where the starch molecules reorganize and become harder for your body to digest. For older adults, that shift can lead to slower digestion, bloating, and less efficient circulation, especially at night when the body is naturally trying to wind down. A study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that cooled starches, like those in refrigerated mashed potatoes, can increase fermentation in the gut. That leads to gas, bloating, and in some cases, low-level inflammation. When your digestive system is inflamed or sluggish, it can actually put pressure on your circulation, especially in the abdomen and lower limbs. That might show up as heaviness in your legs, restlessness at bedtime, or even disrupted sleep due to abdominal discomfort. And if you already have any vascular conditions, this kind of slow, heavy digestion can further restrict blood flow through already narrowed or fragile vessels. So instead of scooping cold mashed potatoes from the fridge, just try making smaller, fresh portions that don't need storage. Or, if you do keep leftovers, add a drizzle of olive oil when reheating. It can help digestion and is friendlier to your heart. Now, let's talk about something people often forget can carry the same risks. Cold pasta salads, popular at picnics. And potlucks. Pasta salads are often creamy, savory, and feel light, but don't let the texture fool you. Most cold pasta salads are made with a heavy mix of mayonnaise, deli meats, and cheese, a trio loaded with saturated fat and sodium. And when served cold, your body has a harder time processing those fats, especially in the evening. A clinical report from Harvard School of Public Health revealed that meals high in saturated fats and salt, especially when eaten cold, lead to a sharp rise in blood lipids after eating. That's not just hard on digestion, it makes your blood thicker and harder to pump, especially through tiny vessels in your brain and heart. You might not feel anything right away, but your heart does. It works over time to keep thickened blood moving through tight, less flexible pathways. Over time, that extra strain adds up. And in the quiet hours of the night, when blood flow naturally slows, that strain could trigger a clot or vascular event. Want a healthier version? Use whole grain pasta, swap the mayo for Greek yogurt, and go light on the salty ingredients. Most importantly, serve it fresh. Your arteries will notice the difference. And now, let's finish with a small but often overlooked fridge item. Leftover gravy and sauces. You know, the kind tucked into a container in the back of the fridge. They don't seem like a big deal, but these sauces can quietly weigh down your cardiovascular system. Most gravies, especially those made from meat, drippings, are packed with animal fats and salt. When they cool, the fat solidifies, becoming harder to digest. That thick, sticky fat doesn't just affect your stomach, increases blood viscosity, making it harder for your heart to circulate blood effectively. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that high-fat, high-sodium sauces, whether reheated or eaten cold, can raise fibrin levels in your blood. Fibrin is a protein involved in clot formation, which means thicker blood, and a higher chance of clotting silently as you sleep. That's especially concerning during the early morning hours, between 3 to 5 a.m., when strokes are statistically most likely to happen. If you've had a cold serving of gravy with dinner or before bed, maybe setting up the perfect storm inside your bloodstream. So here's a better approach. Skim the fat off sauces before storing them. Reheat them thoroughly and use smaller amounts. Better yet, try herb-based sauces made with olive oil and broth. They're lighter, flavorful, and much easier on your arteries. From creamy pasta salads to sweet desserts, many of the fridge foods we love can slowly wear down our circulatory system, not because of one meal, but because of repeated habits. Over time, this isn't about fear, it's about being aware and making smart changes that protect your health without taking away your favorite foods. Your fridge doesn't have to be a risk zone. With a few thoughtful tweaks, it can become a source of healing and nourishment. Remember, stroke risk builds over time, and so does your protection. Every small change is one more step toward better circulation, deeper sleep, and a healthier tomorrow. If today's video gave you something to think about, drop a 1 in the comments. If this is the first time you've heard some of this, type 0. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Insight. Let's keep learning together step by step. Take care of your body. It's been taking care of you for a long time.